Answer my question.
Very little to nothing.
It. Yes or no?
Very little.
You're not allowing me
Answer.
to. Listen, you're not going to be like. You're not my boss.
You
So don't tell me. Don't tell me how I have to answer your question. Okay? Nobody's intimidated from you telling me how I'm going to answer your question.
I'm not trying to intimidate you.
You're not going to cut me off. Okay?
I'm trying to have an honest conversation, which you
why don't you
guys do not
stop
want.
exercising your invisible white privilege and let the black girl talk for a second? Okay?
That's nice.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. My name is Ellery, and today I'm back to the video and check out you guys. This is called Charlie Kirk Destroys Arrogant White Race Beta. You know how it goes, guys. We talk less and we react more. Let's check this out.
Was there ever a point in history where white privilege didn't exist?
No. When we lived in a country where if you were black, you were not allowed to go into certain places, right? I suppose you could say again, and I guess that wouldn't be white privilege. You would call that Nordic privilege in the progressive era when there were signs that said Irish need not apply. So that is white on white, a lack of a privilege. Of course, there's examples in the history of the world where you would have been privileged if your skin was white, especially in this country and in other countries as well. But today, no, white privilege does not exist.
When did it end?
Over time, beginning with the civil rights era, it's not a particular incident or moment, but multi-generations, the country became significantly less racist. I would say after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, after, when we had desegregation, fought the Democrat institutional racism, we fought back against the KKK, when the Civil Rights Act was signed, when blacks were allowed to participate in Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, serve an elected office, all those things, contributed to the end of what used to be privilege in society, white privilege.
You said less racist. Is it still somewhat racist?
No. Do you just have questions? I think.
No, you said you wanted a dialogue. We're having a
conversation.
Okay.
No.
It's the least racist country in the world.
No, America is not a racist country today.
Is it still racist? So
no.
When did it end?
No.
You can't answer the question.
It ended when it ended.
I just did.
Okay,
no, you didn't. You said less
I will
racist.
answer. I'll answer. I'm answering you.
Thank you.
When it stopped being systemic, when there stopped being laws in place that stopped me as a black person doing what you're able to do as a white man.
No, I'm not asking that. Systemic racism is not simply that issue.
Yes, you just asked me to define when it stopped being, when this country stopped being racist. That's the answer.
When?
I can't give you the exact date and time and hour. I'm telling you when.
Give me the decade.
What do you mean?
Mid-1970s.
Yeah,
Mid-1970s. So mass incarceration affecting black and brown communities disproportionately to their population.
Because they committed more crimes.
As to why? Why did they commit more crimes?
Because we ripped apart the family.
Because of their economic situation. I'm not fucking talking to you, dude.
Why are liberals so angry? I can't figure out why you're angry.
Why
are you angry?
I'm not a liberal,
right
so
now?
stop assuming my political
affiliation. You just came out of nowhere and just start cursing.
No, you invited me up here, raised my hand,
I know, but I'm saying you
just
turned around and you're cursing at someone. Why don't you calm down? It's just a conversation.
I'm perfectly calm. I can curse.
You don't have to turn around and curse anyone behind you.
I can.
You're okay?
It's a free country, right?
Okay. No, but I'm saying that it's not necessary to have this dialogue for you to turn around and be angry. I do always remark, and I am going to suspect that you are liberal because right now you're trying to sell me my own.
I'm not liberal.
You're selling me my own oppression, so that's a very liberal stance.
I'm not liberal.
Usually when a white man stands up and tells me that, yes, this is a racist country and is oppressed, they do tend to be liberal. Only liberals try to sell me my oppression.
But I'm not.
But, okay, I'm not going to assume your political ideology. So here's
I do.
I mean, to answer your question for me, when the system stops being racist and there's nothing stopping us, and you brought up the prison rates, and you said something that was actually really important. You said it's because their communities have been economically depressed. So that would not be because of the color of your skin. That's economic privilege. If you ask me whether or not I believe in economic privilege, I would tell you yes. If you ask me whether or not I think that somebody born into a family of billionaires will be afforded more privileges in life than somebody that is born in the projects of Chicago, I would say yes, because economic privilege in this country does exist. But there is no law in place that is stopping a person because of the color of their skin from gaining that economic privilege, which is why I do not believe that white privilege, which is based upon the color of your skin, exists.
Is black poverty and white poverty different? Do they face different?
No, poor is poor.
That's a lie. White people are more likely to be in rural poverty, which is different than urban poverty.
That's because black people don't live in rural parts of America.
What?
That's because black people don't live in rural parts of America.
Why? Historically, why? Why did black people flock?
Because of Lyndon Baines Johnson, urban planning, central planning, great society, where he said, we are going to verticalize the black community, destroy the black father, introduced drugs in the late 1960s, subsidized single motherhood, which used to be 22% in the 1960s, which is now 73%. Only a government program could make something like that happen.
Did it have anything to do with the lynchings in the South and the hostility towards black people in the South?
Well, first off, you say...
Is there any reason why they left the South for that reason?
Just so everybody knows, literally not half people, 1/3 of the people that were lynched in the South were white Republicans. So Republicans were being lynched in the South as well. So let's not pretend that
okay, that's
if
fine,
your argument, if you're asking me, it seems like you're no, I just responded.
Does it have
it was a
anything
dialogue.
to do black people leaving the South and going to inner cities and other...
He just answered that question for you.
Anything to... No, I said, does it have anything to do with the KKK,
Very little to
lynchings,
nothing.
and violence in the South that black people faced?
So what it has to do with is the fact that black people continue...
Answer my question.
Very little to
Does
nothing.
it? Yes or no?
Very little.
You're not allowing me
Answer.
to... Listen, you're not going to be like... You're not my boss.
You
So
guys
don't
do
tell
the
me...
same shit.
Don't
You
tell me
guys
how
talk
I
over
have to
people all the
answer
time.
your
I was just
question,
over there with
okay?
you shutting people down.
Nobody's intimidated from you telling me how I'm going to
not
answer your
trying to
question.
intimidate you. I'm
You're not
trying
going
to
to
have an
cut
honest
me off,
conversation.
okay?
No, I'm trying to have an honest conversation, which you
Why don't you
guys do not
stop
want.
exercising your invisible white privilege and let the black girl talk for a second, okay?
No, this has nothing to do with
Okay,
that.
so to answer your question,
So white privilege
everything that
exists.
you're talking about-
Wait.
I said invisible white
Does
privilege.
it exist
I
then?
said invisible white privilege. If you listen,
Of course it's
okay?
invisible.
So
White
first
privilege
things
is not a
first,
tangible
white
thing.
privilege does not exist. Economic privilege does exist. Okay. If you're asking me, do I think the black community has been crippled economically?
Man,
the answer would be yes, it has been crippled economically by
What I say,
Democrat
that
policies.
back
You just
and
proved
forth
it.
cares
You
who
proved
does
it.
it?
I
Democrats
care.
are
That
Americans.
tells you-
Democrats are in America,
because
so
that
therefore
tells
you
you-
just
that
admitted
tells you-
that there has been disadvantage
It
by
is not
two
race.
black
It
people
is not-
by Democrats
it
who
is
are
not
American.
based
You
off
just
of
admitted
the.
it.
It is not based off. You asked
No.
me if white privilege exists. The answer is white privilege. Because you're born white, that means you're going to not have this or that. It does not exist. No, it does not
You just
exist.
admitted that the Democrats, the boogeyman Democrats,
They're not boogeymen. They
disadvantaged
exist.
the black
Boogeyman
people.
doesn't exist.
No,
60 years
Democrats
ago.
do exist.
they did it.
So
60
boogeyman means doesn't
They did
exist.
it.
Just so you know, there
We're
are
talking about
Democrats.
So
today.
you admit that it exists.
60.
I don't think you're comprehending. You're not.
So,
You're not
I'm
comprehending.
not sure that you are. You said
60 years ago, white people had it better than black people. Over time, there's no more systemic laws that are in place.
True.
Let
Disproportionately
me ask you a
affect black
question.
people. Do they?
Let me ask you a question. What can a white person
Do
do
we
that a black person
disproportionately-
cannot do today in today's America? Name one thing.
Well, black people have a
Answer
harder-
the question. Isn't that how this works?
I'm about to answer the fucking question. Black people who smoke marijuana, black and white people smoke marijuana at the same rates. Yet a black person is 3 to 4 times more likely
I can
to be
answer
put
that.
in jail for that.
Okay,
And I
because-
know the reason why, because yeah, the police are in the urban
No,
communities. It's easier to police those communities, sure.
because
But that-
actually, I had a girlfriend. I had a family member who got a DUI, and I had a
You're
girlfriend who got a
disgrace,
DUI.
just to let you know, by just saying what you're saying and standing up here and knowing what's going on through the police brutality, through injustice,
I
all
love
this stuff.
This is so.
you're
I
a
guys,
joke.
I
You're
love
a
that
joke.
behind me. There's like black people rolling their eyes, but the two white guys are yelling at me, telling me that I don't agree with them. This is what I love about white liberals, right? Like they know
I'm not a
it's so
liberal.
important
You're a
for
Marxist.
them to sell us
No,
our
I'm not.
oppression that they'll come up and tell us we're a disgrace. Just
Do
say,
you speak
just
for all
say
black
it, just
people?
say it, just say
Can
it.
you speak for
well,
all
why
black
don't you
people?
stop speaking for black people? That would be
not?
great, okay?
Whoa, man. Okay. I'm not. It's nothing humorous. I'm not meant to be laughing, but he's proving his own point too. He's saying white privilege exists. White privilege exists. I don't know if you guys actually watched and understood this video. Did you see the way he was talking down Candace Owens? Did you see the way he was shouting her down, ordering her to answer the question, yes or no, this and that? And that was when Candace got kind of mad and said, why don't you stop exercising your invisible? The word invisible is there. Why don't you stop exercising your invincible white privilege and let the black girl talk? What? Now, the end again. Another question hit me there. He said, do you speak for all black people? And she threw one right back at him. She said, why don't you stop speaking for the black people? I mean, you're white. You're in there shouting down a black woman and saying white privilege exists, it's because of you, man. It's definitely because of you. What? He was so heated about the whole thing. I didn't really get his anger. I didn't get his frustration. True. Just as Charlie and Candace said, the whites had it better in history. You know? There was systemic racism. No one denies that. Not just in America, but all over the world. The blacks, in fact, virtually all other races, but blacks in particular, were not finding it funny. Talk about the slave era, for example. I mean, there are novels on this sort of thing when you see that it's in the law that a black man can't go to this certain neighborhood, or a black man can't have associations with a white girl, or a black man can't buy from this store, or black people have their lines in a public place, white people have their lines in a public place. Segregation was present then. But as Charlie pointed out, there is a time in history when they finally looked into this and they said it was wrong. And now, just as he pointed out, blacks are all over the NBA, definitely. We see them on TV. I mean, I watch basketball. And in the American team, it's more 50% black, more than 50% black that I've seen in the NBA. They are allowed to play baseball. In fact, they are allowed to literally live because they weren't living then. They are allowed to be integrated in the system. I mean, Barack Obama was the first black president, wasn't he? There are different examples to actually push forth this fact that systemic racism is no longer in context nowadays. It's no longer in vogue, let me put it that way. Now it's individual racism. It's people finding what to cling on to, what to believe, what to push forth. Now it's people that actually have that warped mindset that are actually trying to push it forth. Of course, then, just as Candace pointed out, if you were born with a white skin, yes, you definitely have some privileges due to the system then. Just the same way, a child born into a wealthy family would certainly have more privileges, as Candace pointed out, more economic privileges than a child born into a family that's still struggling. It's the same way it was back then. A child born into a white family had that same privileges because then no one can deny that white privilege didn't exist then. But they have made their point, or they have made their mark in trying their very possible best to eradicate the system. But yet people actually are the problem. And even back then, not all whites were racist. Not all blacks were bad. People, individual mindset. And just because a few of those people had to be in power then, it destabilized the entire system. Of course, at some point, there are a few lapses because, as I said, people. As our other white race beta came out, said she's a disgrace and all. It was just funny the way they were actually proving their own point. Because to these two men, yes, white privilege does exist. But today, in this day and age, in this era, there is virtually nothing that white men can do that blacks aren't also allowed to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we see on the TV. Anyway, guys, I think we all learned a lot from this video. Please leave your comments in the comment section and leave a thumbs up at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.